Hi, this is Lucia Lockmeyer, and I'll be narrating Chapter 8, Thesis Statements, Part 1 and 2. In Part 1, we'll be covering what is a thesis, why use a thesis, how do I know it's a thesis, how do I build towards a thesis, how can I make a text-based thesis. What is a thesis? Topic versus thesis. The subject you are writing about is the topic. Add your opinion to a topic to create a thesis. Topic plus opinion equals thesis. Add the significance to make a more complex thesis. Topic plus opinion plus so what equals thesis. Another way to look at it is the TSS in thesis. Topic, stance, so what. So what is a thesis? The thesis is the main point of an essay, a focused, arguable statement which allows the reader to make predictions about the reading. What are the characteristics of an effective thesis? The language is clear, straightforward, and can't be misunderstood. It is contestable and arguable. Ask yourself, could someone disagree? The answer should be yes. It is concentrated on a focused point, not too broad and not too narrow, but the right size for the assignment. It is complex and delves into the larger significance or impact. It is compelling and draws in your reader's interest and makes them want to read more to see how you prove your claim. It is directly connected to the prompt question assignment for the essay. Just remember the 6 C's: clear, contestable, concentrated, complex, compelling, connected. A thesis is not a fact, a quote, or a question. Why use a thesis? It allows the reader to make predictions about the reading. It guides the reader to stay focused on the main idea of the essay. It generates thought, evidence, and analysis. It provides a purpose for the essay and answers questions like these. What am I trying to accomplish in this essay? What do I want to convince my reader of? How do I know it's a thesis? Practice locating opinion words in thesis statements. Thesis. As you explore your subject, you'll begin to see possible ways to connect your ideas. A sentence that links all your main ideas and explains your opinion on those ideas is called a thesis statement. Opinion. A thesis should contain a topic, what you are writing about, an opinion about the topic, what your attitude is toward the topic, and often also the reasons why you hold that view, explanations answering why or so what. In other words, a thesis needs to be an arguable assertion that can be proven with evidence and opinion. To check to see if a thesis is arguable, locate the opinion words. Locating the opinion in a thesis. When you look for the opinion in a thesis, ask yourself, what is the writer's attitude towards the topic? For example, in the sentence, backpacking in the mountains last year was an exciting experience, the topic is backpacking, and the opinion is that this trip was exciting. Another person on the same trip might have had a different attitude and may have found the trip boring or exhausting. Exciting reveals the writer's attitude and also indicates what the essay with this thesis statement will be focused on, demonstrating why it was exciting. This thesis statement limits the writer's focus and clearly tells the reader what the essay will be about. Practice. Underline the opinion words below. If there are no opinion words, it is not a thesis. Number 1. The subject of unwarranted fears, most bats are harmless and highly beneficial. Number 2. Vigorous exercise is a good way to reduce the effects of stress on the body. Number 3. Buffalo and Toronto differ in 4 major ways. Number 4. Developing color film is more complicated than developing black and white. Number 5. In this essay, I will discuss abortion. Number 6. Television is destroying the unity of the modern family. Number 7. In her essay, Ehrlich shows that there is a balance of community and isolation in her hometown. Pause. Answers. 1. Much maligned and the subject of unwarranted fears, most bats are harmless and highly beneficial. Vigorous exercise is a good way to reduce the effects of stress on the body. 3. Buffalo and Toronto differ in 4 major ways. 4. Developing color film is more complicated than developing black and white. 5. In this essay, I will discuss abortion. No opinion words, so this is not a thesis. 6. Television is destroying the unity of the modern family. 7. In her essay, Ehrlich shows that there is a balance of community and isolation in her hometown. How do I build towards a thesis? Narrowing your topic. Use focus strategies to help you narrow your topic. You can use them individually or combined. Time. Too broad? In the past, since the dawn of time, in the beginning of society. So when was it? In the early 14th century? In the late 1960s? Summer of 1985? Since 1990? This year? 10 years from now? Some examples. Frederick Douglass's rise to prominence was in 1841. During the era of slavery in the United States from 1619 to 1865. Place. Too broad. In the world today. In the United States, all citizens. People who live in Africa. In the Middle East, everyone. So, can the place be narrowed to a country, a state, a town, a neighborhood? Example, the time Frederick Douglass spent in Baltimore as a house slave learning how to read and write. Population, too broad. All African Americans, men and women in Asia, every Spanish speaker, all doctors, older people always. So which population should be the focus and why? Can you make an accurate statement about the entire group? Examples. Douglass wrote his story to prove to his detractors that he had been a slave. Slave owners in the South. Slaves who rebelled against unjust laws. Viewpoint. Too broad. Slavery was bad. Men are violent. We need to get rid of poverty. Racism hurts people. People shouldn't do things that are bad for them. So, can you break your topic down into narrower parts? What aspect of your topic is most interesting to you? What particular aspect of your topic is the most important or has the largest impact? Who exactly is affected? Examples. Slavery demoralized human beings and destroyed families. Slavery violated the Constitution and the founding principles of the United States. How do I build towards a thesis? Generating questions on your topic. Once you have a clear and manageable topic, a good next step is to create questions that are not easily answered. What do you want to know about your topic and why? Beginning with a question or series of related questions has several advantages. 1. Questions require answers. Answering questions with opinion form thesis statements. 2. Questions lead you to look for evidence, which is necessary to prove a thesis. 3. A clear, open-ended question calls for real investigation and thinking. Asking a question with no direct answer makes research and writing more meaningful to both you and your audience. Creating complex questions using questioning circles. Learn to create complex questions so the answers to them can be turned into possible thesis statements. The 3 circles. Subject text represents the subject and/or text under discussion or questioning. Personal reality represents the individual's experiences, values, and ideas. External reality represents the world, the experience, history, and concepts of larger society and of other peoples and cultures. The questioning process. While each circle represents a different domain of cognition, the circles overlap, as does knowledge, and are not ordered. Further, in one area where all 3 circles intersect lies the union of the subject being explored, the individual's response and experience, and the experience of others. The intersection of the 3 circles, the area we term dense, contains the most significant higher order questions. The 3 circles. The single question, non-integrated question from one category only, no overlap of circles. The double question, integrated questions using 2 of the categories, overlap of 2 circles. Dense question, integrated questions using all 3 of the categories, overlap of all 3 circles. Example, questioning circles examples. Using the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, single questions. Subject text, what does Huck say when he decides not to turn Jim into the authorities? Personal reality, when would you support a friend when everyone else thought she or he was wrong? External reality, what was the responsibility of people who found runaway slaves? Double questions. Subject text, personal reality. Would you, like Huck, break the law for a friend? Personal reality, external reality. Given the social and political circumstances, to what extent would you have done what Huck did? Subject text, external reality. What were the issues during that time which caused both Huck's and Jim's action to be viewed as wrong? Dense question, subject text, personal reality, and external reality. When is it right to go against the social and/or political structures of the time, as Huck did when he refused to turn Jim into the authorities? Using narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass example. Single questions, subject text. What strategies did Douglass use after he was forbidden to read? Personal reality. Would you help someone break an unfair law even if it put you in danger? External reality. When is it acceptable to break the law? Double questions, subject text, personal reality. Would you, like Douglass, break the law in certain circumstances? Personal reality, external reality. What laws in the U.S. do you feel are unjust, and should citizens break them? Subject text, external reality. Why did Douglass risk so much to learn to read, and why did slave owners forbid slaves to read? Dense question. Subject text, personal reality, external reality. Why was Douglass so determined to learn to read, and how do you think reading and education connect to self-realization and breaking free from societal control? Practice. Creating questions using the questioning. Number 1, in-class exercise. On a separate sheet of paper, create one question type for each category, but only write the question down and do not state what type of question it is. Single question has only one of the 3 domains. Double question, 2, mixed, and dense question, all 3. When you are finished, pass your questions to another group for them to 1, guess the category type, i.e. if it's a single question, which area does it address? Subject text, personal, external, or if it's double, which 2 areas does it blend? Number 2, the group will then answer your questions and your group will answer the questions from another group. 3, take notes of good questions and answers as you can use these to create your own thesis on the topic. Pause. Evaluating a thesis using a continuum line. Applying the advice on narrowing a topic in regards to time, place, population, and viewpoint, you can evaluate thesis statements using a continuum line. Some will be too narrow, some too broad, but your goal as a writer is to create a thesis that is just right. Thesis continuum line. Too narrow. Mistress Hughes abused her power when she denied Douglass the right to read because she was afraid of angering her husband. Too broad. Slave owners were bad because they abused their power. Just right. The abuse of power embodied in slavery not only damaged the slaves but corrupted the slave owners, as seen in Mistress Hughes, revealing one should refuse certain types of power even if society dictates otherwise. Practice. Evaluate the following thesis statements and decide where they fall on the continuum line. Explain your reasoning. 1. Even though most people believe school has influenced them or taught them the most, it was my father, not school, that taught me the value of reading and writing. 2. Literacy is the key to success, and you must be literate to be successful in today's world. 3. The only way to achieve literacy is by learning the 5-paragraph essay. 4. The North and South fought the Civil War for many reasons. Some were the same and some were different. 5. While both sides fought the Civil War over the issue of slavery, the North fought for moral reasons while the South fought to preserve its own institutions. 6. The main argument of the Civil War was whether individual states had a right to self-govern independent of federal law. 7. Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn is a great American novel. 8. Twain's Huckleberry Finn suggests that to find the true expression of American democratic ideals, one must leave civilized society in order to find one's basic humanity. 9. Twain's Huckleberry Finn shows that Huck grew when he realized people missed him when he was presumed dead. Pause. Answers. 1. Even though most people believe school has influenced them or taught them the most, it was my father, not school, that taught me the value of reading and writing. That's just right. 2. Literacy is the key to success, and you must be literate to be successful in today's world. Too broad. 3. The only way to achieve literacy is by learning the 5-paragraph essay. Too narrow. 4. The North and South fought the Civil War for many reasons. Some were the same and some were different. Too broad. 5. While both sides fought the Civil War over the issue of slavery, the North fought for moral reasons, while the South fought to preserve its own institutions. Just right. 6. The main argument of the Civil War was whether individual states had a right to self-govern independent of federal law. Too narrow. 7. Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn is a great American novel. Too broad. 8. Twain's Huckleberry Finn suggests that to find the true expression of American democratic ideals, one must leave civilized society in order to find one's basic humanity. Just right. 9. Twain's Huckleberry Finn shows that Huck grew when he realized people missed him when he was presumed dead. Too narrow. How can I make a text-based thesis? When writing about a text, it can be challenging to separate your opinion from the author's when forming a thesis. Oftentimes, students will create an arguable thesis statement, but it will be the author's thesis. Or sometimes the thesis will summarize what happened more than argue a clear point. Your reader knows what the author thinks because he will have read what the author wrote, but your reader doesn't know what you think, which should be the focus of your paper. Lead papers with your own original argument. Arguing your point on the text is the purpose of the essay. When writing about a text, don't 1. Give the author's thesis as your own. 2. Summarize what happened instead of giving an argument. 3. Give general advice that doesn't directly address the text and is too large to prove in an essay. When writing about a text, do 1. Give your own original take and opinion on the text. 2. Only summarize parts of the text that directly prove your thesis. And 3. Provide a specific text-based argument that can be fully proven in the assigned page length of the essay. How do I write an original, arguable thesis about a text? Well, 1. Figure out what the central argument or moral of the story and give your opinion on it. Ask yourself, so what? So what is the significance or importance of this? So what are the outcomes or repercussions? So what has been overlooked? So what are some different opinions? So why should someone care? And number 2, narrow the topic down. Oftentimes when responding to an author's text, it is a long piece, much longer than the paper you were assigned to write on it. Therefore, don't take on the entire text. Break down its elements and respond to a motif, a character, a symbol, a chapter, a smaller issue that was raised. Practice. Identifying problems with text-based thesis statements. Choose one of the don'ts that each thesis characterize. Gives the author's thesis instead of own argument. Summarizes what happened instead of giving an argument. Gives general advice that doesn't directly address the text and is too large to prove in an essay. 1. In Generation Me by Jean Twenge, she shows how those born in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were raised with too much self-esteem, and she argues that this leads to apathy, depression, loneliness, and higher suicide rates. 2. Life is short, so follow your own path and make the best of what you have. 3. Margot Schlipp provides us with a declaration of her thoughts, feelings, and views of the world and what she thinks about love. 4. Eric Schlosser in his book Fast Food Nation exposes how the fast food industry has been subsidized by the government and how this has enabled the general public to be overly exposed to unhealthy food. 5. Maria Mazziotti Gillen shows that her maturity into adulthood allowed her to appreciate the things she previously felt shame for. 6. Obstacles may seem impossible to overcome, but are surmountable because anything is possible when you work hard. 7. The life of Emmanuel is characterized by different successful trials and tribulations, but in the end, he did not get recognized for his accomplishments, nor did he have the ability to be happy about them due to post-traumatic stress syndrome. Pause. Answers. 1. That is the author's thesis. 2. That is general advice. 3. That's summarizing her ideas. 4. That is the author's thesis. 5. Again, summarizing the author. 6. General advice. 7. Again, summarizing the author. That concludes Part 1 of Chapter 8, Thesis Statements.